Good morning and welcome to your Saturday edition of Breakfast Extra. But before we get into it, let's talk about something that has been sitting heavy on social media lately: allegations, retractions, and the speed of public judgment. You see, in recent weeks, two stories gripped Nigeria's digital space. Firstly, the viral TikTok case involving a young woman known as Mirabel, who posted an emotional video alleging rape. The video spread rapidly. Outrage followed. Sympathy poured in. Of course, we know social media did what it always does best. It amplified. But later, parts of the story were retracted. And just as quickly as support came in, skepticism and backlash followed. Now, then there was the case involving a student of Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife. An accusation was made publicly, and it was made online. The accuser, or the accused rather, was named. The conversation exploded, of course, across platforms, and then the allegation was withdrawn. What followed? A lawsuit, reputational damage, and division. These are two different individuals, two different settings, but striking similarities. In both cases, social media was the first courtroom, not the police, not the university authorities, not even the legal system. Now, the timeline here was very simple. Post first, investigate later, and then changes. And that particularly changes everything. Because here's the reality. Social media, as powerful as it is, it has helped survivors find their voices. It has exposed injustice. It also has forced accountability where silence once ruled. But social media is also an instant jury. It deliberates in seconds. It convicts you in a minute. And it rarely revisits the verdict. The algorithm does not wait for the evidence. It rewards emotion. It rewards outrage. It rewards engagements. The more shocking the claim, the faster it spreads. But when stories change, when the details shift, when allegations are retracted, the correction never travels as far as the accusation, does it? And in that gap, the real damage actually happens. Because for genuine survivors, high-profile retractions can create doubt where there should be support. For the accused, even if cleared, screenshots live forever. Search engines, we may forget, but search engines definitely do not forget. So where exactly does this leave us? It leaves us with the responsibility to know that before you repost, before you hashtag, before you even take a side, pause for a moment, pause, and ask yourself these simple questions. Do I know the full story? Am I amplifying facts, or am I just amplifying emotions? Is this true? If this turns out untrue, what harm have I helped spread? Because freedom of expression, powerful as it may be, it also has to be restrained. Social media is a tool. It can empower justice, or it definitely can distort it if not used correctly. And maybe the real lesson here is this: not every allegation needs to trend before it is tested. And not every emotional post needs to become a public trial. Justice does require process. Truth does require patience. And reputation, as important and critical as it is, once damaged, are not easily repaired. So as we scroll, as we share, and as we speak, let us remember that we are not just users. We are participants in shaping narratives. Let's use that powerful tool very carefully. Again, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. I'm never doing this by myself. I'm always joined by the incredible Mazino. Good morning, Mazino.
Thank you very much. You saved yourself there where you said, I'm never joined, and then the incredible. So I forgive you. Welcome, Inem. The triple filter check about stories online is something that I've always believed in, and I think you just articulated it well. Am I telling this true story? Do I know exactly what it is, or am I amplifying something that's not a fact? And I think if we all live by that, maybe we might get better representation on social media.
I really do hope so. Clickbait needs to be something that we really handle in the years to come.
But then again, it's what creates buzz, and that's why you have plenty of this happening on social media. Everybody wants to blow.
I mean, it's an interesting story, interesting monologue as well, Mazino. But
Indeed.
Let's not stay on the monologue. I know we've got so many amazing stories today. So should we get into it?
True. Let's please come over. Thank you very much, Inam.
Thank you.
And in breaking news, Israel says it has launched what it describes as a preventative strike against Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz declared a state of emergency, saying the operation was aimed at removing threats to the country. Witnesses in Tehran reported hearing an explosion, while Iranian state television confirmed the blast without offering further details. Meanwhile, sirens sounded across Israel as the Israel Defense Forces warned of the possibility of Iranian missile retaliation, and the military urged residents to remain close to protected spaces as a precautionary measure. Once again, this is breaking news happening right now. We'll bring you more inside our Breakfast Extra. Do stay with us. You're welcome. It's time for Breakfast Extra for a Saturday morning here. Inam and I just talking about something from over your monologue, how social media influences everything, not just people's perception or their position, but also the visuals as well.
Yes.
Everybody loves a good, sharp image, and that's why social media is a big deal to be considered when it comes to anything. Absolutely.
Yeah, but should that be the narrative? Is social media supposed to be what shapes our perception, or we are supposed to shape the narrative of social media?
It's a collective of people's opinion, and people's opinion, your individual opinion, sometimes reflects what you have gathered.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem. Fair. But I think that's the problem, though, because how can a bunch of people that you don't even know shape your perception and how you do things? You like to take your pictures at a landscape, but if you do it on portrait, it gets all of these reactions. So you just automatically decide, because this is what they like and what they respond to, I'm going to do it like that.
It's called culture.
Yeah, it's not, I don't even think it's called, I mean, as much as we call it
culture builds.
As much as we call it culture, there's a problem in identity there. I think that's where it gets distorted, because you know what you like, but you don't do things that you like. You do things that they like because you want to appease these social media gods.
Very true, very true.
That's a problem.
A short conversation there, though we'll bring that one to you. But let's talk about today's show. Going to be very interesting as we take a look at the insurgency instances in just this morning. We also have a very interesting conversation about the new IG of police, which has been the main rave all through the entire week, as people have been talking, giving their own, opinion about the switch. Is it political, or is it really for national interest? There's much more here to talk about, as we have already our guests on standby, and we'll be going to them to have these conversations. So welcome once again on Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Appeal, and of course, Maso is joining. Let's do the papers, shall we, this morning?
Yes, let's.
All right. So what do we have? Chiwete has spoiled our thing. I'm sorry. Let's do the Tribune first, shall we?
Let's go ahead and start with the Tribune. The Tribune right there. Mazino, should you take it or I?
Okay, I'll do the Tribune. First off, the Tribune has this on its front page. Court validates 2025 PDP elective convention, affirms Turaki-led NWC. Finally, we get some direction. So this is going to actually give plenty of, it's going to settle the waters, whatever's happening inside of the PDP, because this was a big factor with the inconclusive status of opposition in Nigeria. The Turaki-led NWC, National Working Committee, finally has been recognized and affirmed. Grand, congratulations to them. Now let's get to some good opposition. Party welcomes court judgment, urges police to unseal secretariat. Judgment is no news, says Wike's camp. Yeah, it's the story of the fox and the grapes. When you can't get the grapes, you simply just say, yeah, I bet they were sour anyway. That's exactly what's happening here. 48 kids stolen in Gombe. Governor Yahaya, FCT police rescued 21 children from traffickers. And my health started to deteriorate after my husband became a herbalist.
Oh, wow.
That should be the other way around, but...
Wicked man.
Gunmen kill 5, injure 3 in Plateau. Governor threatens community leaders. We'll be talking plenty about that, I think, our very first story here. And also, Bauchi government meets Tinubu, denies defection plots. I'm not lonely in PDP. Fintiri's defection has wounded Atiku's 2023 ambition, says the presidency, and 2027 polls will be Tinubu versus APC versus Nigeria, says Atiku. Oh, everybody's bracing up for 2027, and everything links up to 2027 elections, including, which we will have this conversation, the resignation of the IG and his replacement, which has so many factors to it. What happens to the people who, or the officers who are his senior?
My senior,
well, I'll tell
yes,
you,
the seniors, yeah.
they have to resign.
Resign, yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's a bad one. But before we get into that conversation, Mazino, let's move to the Saturday Punch.
Punch, yes, please. What we got on the Punch?
Up at the top there, we've got Anatomy of Excellence. 50 UI first-class law graduates share success secrets. That's a good one.
50.
Congratulations to them. And then right over there, how aunties abused us as children. Those are male celebrities giving their own perspective.
This was the big conversation all week on social media, by the way, with a few very prominent celebrities coming out to tell that they were abused as kids. Now, these were male celebrities. It gives you an idea of how rampant child abuse is when it comes to our culture. And I think it's a culture. And the stories are always the same. It's a similar pattern. It's often somebody who's brought in to take care of the kids, entrusted with their safety and security, but turns against them and abuses them. I think we're having that conversation today inside of Breakfast Extra.
And then right underneath there, we've got Lagos Police awaits Simi's case file.
That's another one.
2027, on your marks, set, go. Parties raced against May deadline for primaries. The PDP, the ADC, the NNPP accuse INEC of creating impossible hurdles. Interesting one. The APC to opposition, go to court or boycott the polls.
Very bold.
That's very
Very
I like,
bold.
yeah, I mean, I think it's necessary now.
Do you remember that picture of the dogs being released, the hounds being released for a race, and then the cheetahs staying back and like, nah.
You go first, I'll catch up.
It seems to be the same thing with if you put all the national, all the parties and at the gates and then, flip it open. It's like the APC's that cheetah, like, nah.
We'll let you get a head start.
Yeah.
So we look like we're playing fair.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate, we'll let you get a head start. So we look like we're playing fair because in all fair, but they say all is fair in love and war.
Well, this is politics. There are loopholes you can take advantage of. Not saying that they're doing anything that is outrightly wrong, but if you take advantage of the system in a way that profits your drive, your motion, all's fair in love and war, I guess. But the nuances are what we don't pay attention to.
There was a quote that I saw some time ago that said, I'll find it, I'm not sure if it was Plateau, but he said, if voting could change anything, people actually wouldn't be allowed to vote. There was a quote like that, where if voting really had
anything,
then people would not be allowed to vote.
Interesting.
So for them, it's like, well, allow them to do it so they think they have rights, so they think their voices matter. But in actual reality, do they really matter?
What else do we got?
So underneath there, still on Saturday Punch, we've got why men are turning to unverified manhood enlargement remedies. Mazina.
Why did I know you were going to do that? Why did you call my name?
Do you have something y'all want to tell us?
I don't know. I cannot speak for the generality of men.
Jeepers creepers. Right underneath there, we've got real reasons Tinubu sacked ex-IG Egbetokun.
What is it?
I really actually want to know. People say, oh, well, he was due for retirement, this, that. They kept him longer. Personally, I feel like, Mazino, there is more. There are skeletons in that closet.
Well, there's always more. And I sent you a list. This always happens with the IGs. There's always a replacement, especially close to elections. In this particular instance, we're still going to have the same situation we had with the former IG Egbetokun when it comes to the retirement age. I bet everybody's looking at that now. But why exactly are these chess pieces being moved so close to the elections? They talked about disagreements between him and the president and Egbetokun, but I sincerely doubt that. I just think that this is just... It's, like I said, loopholes being taken advantage of, especially before the elections. Is that all you got for the Saturday Punch? Or?
Let me see if there's anyone that I feel like is notable before we move on to the next one. No, actually, okay.
All right.
Wike faction kicks as Oyo court upholds PDP convention.
They would.
And then the last one at the bottom there says, Fintiri joins APC.
Yep,
Atiku's son shuns defection.
He did.
Defection upon defections.
Yes, indeed. Just one party. Let's move on now to the Nation newspaper for a Saturday morning. Nation's got this. Atiku's home state falls as Fintiri joins the APC. Big blow, everybody would say. Fintiri, he kept this one to his heart for a while, and then boom, surprised everybody. Now, Adamawa governor defects with cabinet. PDP executives, I beg your pardon, 14 LG chairman, says realignment reposition states with mainstream national politics. 2027 will be Atiku/APC versus Nigerians, says Atiku. Will be Tinubu rather, /APC versus Nigerians. And PDP factions differ as Oyo Court validated by the convention. Pro-Wike faction dismisses ruling as academic. In London property, Ozekome Husseini arraigned over alleged forgery. Court grants each 10 million naira bail. Oops. At the bottom, we see this this picture here, vanishing Imo communities where homes are sinking. We have a big problem in certain states in Nigeria, erosion. And you can wake up one morning and your entire hometown is gone. Very sad. DSS arrests terror kingpin behind mass abduction at Kogi Ekwa Church. Congratulations, now we're getting results. And how we discovered 13.7 billion naira fraud in Osun government payroll, says consultant. Alleged 8.7 billion naira fraud, court remands Malami's son, wife in prison. Family reunion, yay. And Simi Naptip commences probe into daycare abuse allegations. This was from years ago. It's actually just coming up again because of all the talk about abuse and all that's been on social media lately. And Osun Speaker, 24 lawmakers dump PDP for Accord Party. Ah, good. At least we see a different narration here. Instead of dumps PDP for the APC, it's dumps PDP for the Accord Party. And
it's still a dumping.
It's still from the PDP,
it's still a dumping.
Suffering most of the defections, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Told from before, Atiku's home state's gone to the APC.
Very sad.
What do we have?
We've got the Guardian weekend next.
All right.
I'll start with the headline right there. With all the pretty faces, gentlemen of Nigeria, why echoes of a state police can't be ignored. Mazino, you said something about this. It's never a beautiful transition. There's always something behind it. Hopefully, we will get to know what that something is. And then right underneath in yellow there, it says, Senate to accelerate constitution amendments as Tinubu pushes reform. The NASS, governors, the state assemblies align on proposal. Stakeholders differ. Prefer pathways to better policing systems. And then state police, achievable ad efficient Yoruba leaders of thought insists, or insights, I beg your pardon. And then right at the top there, it says, Funke Olaode hones skills with the certification from Harvard, as well as other institutions. And then right next to her there, Oyo State at 50, when celebration becomes a launch pad for next developmental architecture. And then in the blue at the bottom there, we've got PDP crisis, factions renew rivalry as court validates 2025 elective convention, affirms Turaki-led NWC. And then in red, 2027, INEC insists on reforms as protesters rally behind Amupitan.
I like that. I like that. It shows trust. It shows that... I just think that this is a good... springboard to bounce off of when it comes to 2027 elections, especially with support. If the INEC can gather that trust and actually put out good reforms, then we might have just maybe better 2027.
But is the INEC capable of putting out good reform?
Yeah, we have 1 year. We'll find out. Let's see.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
What else do we have?
Let's do the last one. Still on sachet alcohol ban. Distillers, labor unions vow no retreat, no surrender.
Yes, I was driving past the NAFDAC office yesterday and I saw the protests going on. They're actually still protesting. They've been protesting for quite a while. They haven't relented, quite frankly. And you have to wonder, for them, it's about local manufacturing. The fact that you're actually stifling local manufacturers is what they claim. However, there are other issues to take note of, and that's why the authorities are claiming.
So the reason for the ban, in essence, is it because it's readily available, or what's the notion behind it?
So sachet, for one of the pioneering reasons, there are many, but one of the pioneering reasons was the availability, and the availability in hotspots like car parks. What happens at car parks? People congregate to go on journeys. But it's a culture that people drink, especially drivers, and this causes accidents. So it's cheap, it's available, it's, you know. So if you take out the sachets, then you've curbed one system at least. There are others to tackle, but at least this will curb one system. And it's affecting people's daily lives, you know, manufacturers and all of that. So.
I mean, I do agree with the ban. I do agree with the ban, especially from that narrative. I understand them crying out and saying, well, this is our well-being because this is how we make our money. But if the ideology or the sense has not come in that says, but you are making your money at the detriment or at the expense of other people, then I think they are also not getting the point.
I guess so. I guess so. Well, that's it for the papers this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got our very first conversation coming up. To stay with us, we're going to be visiting Jos and talking about the instances of insurgency there. We'll be back in a minute.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, in today's big story, 9 lives have been laid to rest in one graveyard. One community mourning, one country asking the same questions over and over again. How long will this continue? Now in Plateau State, families gathered for a mass burial after a deadly attack that left at least 9 people dead. It is a familiar headline, but for the families in that community, it's not statistics, it's further. It's fathers, it's mothers, it's children, it's relatives. The central question this morning is always a very simple one, really. Are we responding to insecurity, or are we merely reacting to tragedy?
Now, this latest attack has once again thrown a spotlight on rural vulnerability and the persistent security gaps across Plateau communities. Our correspondent has been tracking the incidents from the ground, speaking with residents, local authorities, and also security sources. And, well, to bring us to an understanding of what exactly happened and how. Shizaba brings us this report.
This is certainly not the first time locals in Plateau State are caught up in this kind of ceremony. Family, friends, government officials, religious leaders, and indeed community members were all gathered here for this sad event. Governor Caleb Mutfwang, represented by the State Commissioner for Environment, Peter Gwom, reassured of government's resolve to improve security in the state.
We are here as a government and will give all necessary support to make sure that these families of the bereaved and the communities are helped in any way possible that we can. So please and please, let's take heart. Also, I want to encourage you all that as we have seen a trend at the moment, that these people visit and kill us in the night. Let's stay off mining sites after 6 p.m. Let's stay off beer parlors after 6 p.m. for now.
There were calls on key state actors to rise up to their responsibilities to end these killings.
Let the Operation Enduring Peace be relocated to Fulani domain. By that, their excesses, their banditry, their terrorism will be checked, and then they will not have any reason to come into our domains. And let all the military gadgets that are used in monitoring our environments, let it all be deployed to the Fulani domain, where they have hosted the terrorists that are terrorizing the peace people of Plateau.
I want to beg, with a big voice, the illustrious sons of Barkiladi, political appointees, whoever has the responsibility of checking and then helping the people, let's come together as one people to fight this common cause.
Again and again, this is a call to action. This is a call for people to match their words with action so that security personnel, government officials, and indeed all stakeholders that have a responsibility to maintain law and order and security of both lives and property rise up to this challenge to ensure that people go about their lawful businesses without any fear of any provocation. In Plateau State for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
And indeed, Shizaba Anyanwe joins us now, live from Plateau State. alongside Nengi Jefta, Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, Plateau State Command. Gentlemen, Chizoba, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Chizoba, thank you very much for the report, which you brought to us during the week. But we also hear that there was another instance of, an attack from last night. Can you first start off by telling us about that?
Good morning, Mazino. Okay, that recent attack wasn't last night. It was Thursday night in Tudunwada area of
Chizoba, unfortunately, we can't hear you.
Area.
Please, if you're
Hang on a second. We're going to come back to you. I think we have some issues from here, but we'll come back to you. But let's come to the commissioner. Let's come to the CP, sir. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Now, Deputy Commissioner, I would like to find out from you and ask you about the state of security in Plateau State. We've been seeing instances where these have become heightened only the past couple of weeks or months, and we're wondering exactly why this is so. From your authority, from your point of view, please do tell us what's happening exactly in Plateau State.
Thank you very much and good morning.
Yes.
You recall that for quite some time we've been having relative peace on the plateau. We have not had these killings for some time, and that is because we've been going around the clock to ensure that people go about their businesses. But just unfortunately, on the 16th of this month, there was a killing. The 3 persons were killed in a barricade at the local government. And while we are trying to unravel those behind the killing, there was a reprisal where 9 persons were killed, and just 2 days interval, 4 others were killed. And these are killings that were very unfortunate, avoidable things. And the police trying to ensure that those who are responsible for this killing are arrested and brought to book. While we are trying to do that, because the last set of people that were killed were business men from Just North, and you know,
CP Nengi, we seem to have lost connection with you. If you can hear us, please do confirm. I think we've lost connection with the CP, but we'll try and regain connection with him in just a bit.
Chizoba, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. If you can hear me.
Apologies for that. Now, I know that Mazino had asked a question earlier when we got disconnected. However, I think I'd like to hear from you because you were on ground during the mass burials. What did the residents tell you about security presence before the attack? And were there any warning signs that went unaddressed?
Okay, thanks again for having me this morning. Usually, these locals would say that there were early warning signs, like sometimes they get to have information that there will be an attack, and according to them, they send these same reports to security agencies, hoping that they will take proactive measures to engage these miscreants, so to speak. But this particular incident, these last 3 incidents that happened, we did not get to hear about any information, prior information given to them, so they couldn't pass anything to the security agencies. So no one knows who has this blame now, whether because the information did not get to them on time or not. No one can speak on that. But for them, they feel they do not have enough security presence in their local communities. And so they do not know the reason behind this. For them, they want to feel their presence. They want to see them like in their communities. Let them have the feeling that these guys are here for us, that at any beck and call, they will be there to save them, to swiftly move into action so that all these death tolls won't be there any longer. But sadly, they keep crying that they do not get to see these people around. And so at the time of any attacks, before they could reach out to these security agents or personnel around, the events would have been carried out by these unknown gunmen, of course. So their cry is that they do not get to see security presence until sometimes when this deed has already been done. However, these police or security agents will tell you that they have their checkpoints and where they stay to monitor. Of course, they will tell you that they can't be everywhere at the same time. They lack personnel. So that's one of the major challenges here. So if these personnel are on ground, these locals feel that these things won't continue to happen like this. Just like the DCP said earlier, I mean, in just 1 week or in a space of 10 days, Plateau State has lost like more than 10, 15 people.
Wow.
Just 2 nights ago in Tujunwada area of Bassa local government area, you know, a family of 5 was cleared by bandits. 4 days before that, a man was shot dead in his house. So, I mean, this is not about people moving around or loitering around at odd hours of the day and all of those. But when people are killed in their own homes, inside their houses, sleeping, I mean, what's the security again that they are violating? Do you understand? So their cry and their call is that security personnel should, I mean, rise up to this challenge. It's becoming a very unbearable one. So in Plateau State for now, I would say that it is wearing a gloomy look because nobody is happy about this incident. And sadly, no one knows if it has actually come to an end. Okay. However, the Commissioner of Police in the state has been, I mean, behind all of these recent proactive measures, swift measures too, I would say, to ensure that this does not continue. I think that was what the DCP was going to speak on before.
Exactly, Chizoba. So let's come back to the DCP. The DCP has rejoined us. DCP Nengi Jefta is with us again. Sir, thank you very much. You've heard what our correspondent Chizoba has said. But sir, there's something that is very, very unique here, where we have a situation where we're always hearing about these attacks, but we haven't yet gotten to the root of it when it comes to Plateau State. Why exactly are these attacks happening? Are these communal violence, but over what exactly? Have investigations gone as far as identifying what the real cause of these violence are?
Thank you very much. Yes. We have said it repeatedly that the most important thing is from every department or from all the sections, the farmers, herders, natives, Fulanis, you have people who want to carry out certain things that are not in line with what the majority of the people expect. And so what we normally tell them, and we continue to mention that from all backgrounds, that they should come together and identify crime clearly. And when that is done, it will be easier for us to fight crime. They should not look at crime as a religious something or herder farmers. The moment in every community, you have people who are law-abiding. Those who are committing this crime, they are very few. And that is why we encourage them to form vigilante groups that will be made up of both the Muslims, Christians, farmers, herders. The moment we are able to do that, we will now not look at, we won't give any color to crime and criminality. So what we are trying to say is that a lot of people have their own version. Some are saying farmers, herders, Christians, Muslims, but we are saying that let us drop that. Let everybody come together. See crime as a crime against society. Let us not look at it from one angle. The moment we can come together and identify crime and deal with these criminals decisively, of course, we'll have relief. Plateau State,
but DCP, sir, DCP said, but crime doesn't happen in isolation. There's often a reason why people would go about committing crime. It's either because they're selfish about something or, or they have interests. What are these interests? What are these details to the reason why this continues to happen? Whether it's farmer herder, whether it's religious, if there is an identity to it, then we would know exactly how to tackle it. And that's what people are saying, that identity is missing. Even if it's multifaceted, what are these natures? Is it mineral based? Because people say that the resources in Plateau State are causing people to perpetrate these crimes, or is it just simple disagreements between communities? Why hasn't there been an identification of the issue itself?
Okay, thank you. Well, we've said that repeatedly. Before this time, people feel that
Thank you so much for staying with us. Chizoba, I want to just come to you quickly before we go back to the Deputy Commissioner. Chizoba, can you give us a bit of intel about last night's attack? What exactly happened, and what information do we have so far?
Okay, like I said earlier, it wasn't last night, it was Thursday night when
Okay.
this attack happened in Miango district, the Student Wada area in Miango district of Basta local government area. So details are not yet fully available, but what is clear is that a family of 5 was killed. So in their house while sleeping at night. Details said about 9 p.m., 10 p.m. No one is still sure, but as these developments unravel, we'll get to those details. So for this one, nobody can say what actually happened. It wasn't like there was a fight or a farmer-herder clash or anything like that, or cattle rustling. These are usually triggers to such attacks. But since this one is just on a family, no one can say for sure what happened. Unfortunately, all the family members in the house was killed. So there's no one that can say exactly this is what transpired or that was what happened before they were killed. No one knows. So we still rely on details from security agencies to say exactly what happened if they were around at the time of this incident. So the Development Association there, but they are living in fears. That's what the authorities said. They are living in fears.
Just a bit more. The family, where were they residing? Is this an urban area, a rural area? What exactly is the anatomy of the environment where this happened?
Okay, not really in an urban area, because these attacks usually are in the hinterlands, in the rural areas, where I think these bandits know that road connectivity, telecommunication accessibility is very, very poor. Sometimes even get that there's no network to make calls. To access these communities is a very big challenge because of the road, bad road networks, and even the road itself. Accessibility, most of them are not motorable. So gaining access is a problem. However, since this has been pointed as major challenges reaching these communities at the time of attacks, I think it's time for the government and even the security agencies to be more proactive in this. You know that the roads are bad. Why not fix the roads? There is no telecommunication network there. Why not make it available? Sometimes there's no electricity and all of this. So these are all challenges. So I think this is where every party has to play a role. If this is your own part, play it. If these things, I think, are put in place in their right places and on time, some of these challenges will be curtailed.
All right,
if we have, let's say, drones or all these digital devices in place, I'm sure these things will be happening like rapidly the way they are these days.
Chizoba, I asked that question because I needed it to buttress the question I've been trying to ask the DCP. Now, Deputy Commissioner, we're back to you again. We hope that the network will hold out this time. It's been playing ping pong with us. But Deputy, you've just heard what our correspondent has told, and I've been trying to ask you about the identity of these crimes specifically. The reason why I asked where this happened is so we have an idea of reach, how accessible it is, not just by individuals, but also by the authorities. Now, if we know about the conditions of these areas, why do the authorities still have issues attending to security or securing these people, these hinterland dwellers and all? But first, back to the identity, the real identity of these crimes you were speaking about before we lost connection, sir.
Okay, thank you. Like I've said, so far we've been able to appreciate the fact that it is not a collective decision to commit crime. There is no community will go that the whole community will come together and say, this is what we are going to do to commit crime. But anywhere you go, you have some dissidents, people who want to commit crime for reasons best known to them. But like I was saying, one of the things that we have come to appreciate here is about the issue of farmers, herders. You know, there are times they will have some disagreement. You will see maybe some cows will stray into the farm. And even the state government, appreciating this situation, set up committees in all the local governments. And when that happens, sometimes they will quickly meet, and if there is need for compensation to do that. But even while they are doing that, there are some people who believe that whenever there is problem, that is when they end their living. Merchants of war. You see, all these things will come to happen. So that's why we are saying that I don't want to believe that it's between Christians, Muslims, it's between farmers, herders in totality. There are people in every community who want to commit crime, whether Plateau or Bayelsa or River, anywhere you go, there are people who want to commit crime. So that is why we are encouraging everybody to come together and collectively fight crime to a standstill. The moment we continue to look at it as Christian, Muslims, farmers, herders, sometimes we may not get it right. There are sometimes that certain things will happen, you will make arrest, you arrest people from both factions. And you'll be surprised that at the end of the day, there are always collaborators from both ends. So that's what we are trying to say. For government, for locations of crimes, scenes of crime, just like your correspondent said, there are areas that sometimes will be very difficult to access. And you know, that is not within the purview of the Nigeria Police Force. We make use of what we have. If the situation is not accessible, there are some areas we go with a motorcycle, and you know what that means. So it's a terrain sometimes contributes, but that notwithstanding, we'll continue to do our best to ensure that lives are protected. Let me say this. If not for the intervention or the proactive nature of security agencies, the police and other agencies, the situation would have been worse. We must appreciate that. What you are seeing now is because security agencies don't sleep. They work around the clock, ensuring that places are patrolled. For instance, just like what I was saying about Just Not, if not for the proactive nature of the Commissioner of Police, CP Basiewa, and members of the management team, would have degenerated to something else. But as we speak now, there is relative peace. People are going about their businesses within Just Not. We will continue to do that, and we will ensure that we will do our best to provide the needed security for people to go about their business and do their business well.
Deputy Commissioner, I dare to ask, with the numbers that, I mean, with what you've just said right now in terms of security and all of this, our correspondent Chizoba mentioned back-to-back incidents that have taken place. Now, especially because we are commending what law enforcement has been doing, can I ask how many of the people have been apprehended thus far, especially with the back-to-back instances that have happened so far? Can you give us figures?
Okay, thank you. You know, people who commit this kind of crimes, they try to go to locations where there will be no security presence. You know, you will agree with me that secure policemen cannot be everywhere, even though we patrol everywhere, but they are monitoring. And they know the security agencies, they know policemen, they know we don't know them. They will always want to commit this crime where there's an absolute isolation. So they go to those places and commit this crime. And one of the things we do, because these are serious cases, whenever they commit this crime, sometimes it will take us time to apprehend them. And this incident we are talking about happened within a period of 5 days. The first incident happened on the 16th, and the last one happened on the 23rd, about 7 days or thereabout. So they happened in isolated places, and as we speak now, we are working around the clock. Some of these things will require some kind of tracking technology. That is what we are doing. Definitely, at the end of the day, they will be arrested. This is not the first time. They will be arrested.
Commissioner, yes, 100%. I agree with that. I agree with that. I understand. But you've not necessarily answered my question. Have any been apprehended? I respect the investigation, but in terms of apprehension, 7 days is not a long time. Have any of them been apprehended thus far? We're talking about back-to-back incidences. And if you're telling me that, yes, unfortunately, from a mobility standpoint, if they are able to get to the places and commit the crimes, to a certain degree, law enforcement needs to find ways, especially when we have identified that certain regions in the Plateau State are hotspots. If law enforcement has identified this, then by now, the correct kind of strategies should be put in motion for you guys to be able to get there. For me, I find it a bit strange that they can get there and kill people, but law enforcement cannot get there in good time to prevent these things from happening. So again, sir, has there been any arrest thus far? Yes, you are investigating, but a yes or a no, have there been any apprehensions thus far, sir?
No, no arrests have been made, but I've told you that, you know, this, if you have been to Plateau, you understand what we are talking about.
I have been there.
Okay. When crimes like this are committed, definitely they will understand the fact that the people will go after them. And some of them, they will not even be in this state as we speak. And that is why we are calling on residents that what we need to work with is information. The moment they get any information, they should liaise with us. They should release them to us. With that information, definitely we'll get them. There are some people, they know when these things are carried out, but they, for fear or for whatever reason, they will not release him to the police. That is why we continue to appeal to them that at every point in time, what the police really need is information. But I can assure you that we will get them. We will definitely get them, and they will be made to face the consequences.
So for some of the residents that might be watching News Central at this moment with regards to what you've just mentioned about working with law enforcement, what are some of the things that you would insist that they do to make the job of law enforcement easier? When you say that some of them are afraid to work with law enforcement, what are some, in fact, not just for Plateau State, but for any other region in Nigeria, when you say work hand in hand with law enforcement, as a civilian, what does that look like?
Well, we appreciate some of their fears. Some, when we interact with them, they will emphasize the fact that when they give information, their identity will be exposed. No, we have gone beyond that. Now, at every point in time, we have people who are heads of these stations. You have their DPO, they have at the headquarters, all of our phone numbers are out. And the moment you relate to the right person, the matter will be treated with absolute confidentiality. And that is why we are saying that they should not entertain any fear. They should come to the police, report. It is only when they do that that it will enhance our efficiency. And then definitely the people will be arrested. They should not entertain any fear. They should come close to us and give us information. We are not asking them to provide the vehicles or give us fuel. No. What we are asking for is just information. That will help us to ensure that those who perpetrate those crimes are apprehended.
All right. Now, in terms of information, our correspondent Chizoba Inoue mentioned that to a certain degree, there tends to be triggers, information before the attacks take place. Was information like this leaked or given to law enforcement? And is there anything that you guys did about it?
Well, for this particular incident, there was no information. But every day there are informations that are coming from the DSS, from our own intelligence department, from the good people of Plateau State every day. So it's not just a particular this one, but every day we receive information. They want to do this, they want to do that. Our men will go to. And sometimes when they give information, sometimes you don't even know where the informations are coming from, apart from the conventional institutions that are vested with that responsibility. So you don't know where they're coming from. Some of them are just a decoy to distract the security agencies. But we don't take those things for granted. We go around, like I've said, the reason why you are having this peace on the plateau is because of the commitment of the security agencies. If not, it would have been worse. So we continue to do our best, and we always encourage them to work with us so that we can achieve better results.
All right, Chizoba, let me come to you now. Chizoba, in recent weeks, we've seen plenty of deployment when it comes to the Nigerian army to areas where we have these insurgencies or violence taking place. However, when it comes to security, internal security in any country, here in Nigeria, is supposed to be the purview of the police. It only becomes the army's responsibility when it's an external thing. However, in these cases where we are seeing people using military-grade weapons, you have to deploy the army. But where the army interacts with the police is supposed to be the one in charge while the army supports. We don't see that happening here in Nigeria. And I'm wondering, Chizoba, from a reporter's angle, a reporter's point of view, do you think the Nigerian police is absolutely overwhelmed?
Thanks, Mazilo. Well, I may not be in the best position to say
well, from
that,
a reporter's point of
I
view,
see on the ground,
yes,
in the field, yes. So from what I've seen on the ground, in recent times, like the DCP said earlier, especially with these last incidences recorded in the state in the past 1-2 weeks, I mean, I've seen the police taking charge. That's the truth. Like during the mass burial in Barrakin Ladi, after the Dorowa Babuje incident, the police were on ground, members of the civil defense and all of them. Of course, the military was also there, but closer look would show you more of the personnel of the Nigeria police. Again, after the incident happened in the town, we also saw a show of force. Like the day I was at the CP's office for a little brief, there was a show of force being led by the Nigeria police personnel and of course their vehicle and all of that. Yesterday again, I went around to get updates for security situations. The police was also on the lead. So I think if this continues, I want to believe that there will be sustainable peace in the state, especially for Plateau State in Jos, where I reside, where I get to see most of this. I mean, it's siren here and there, and I'm like, God, help us, you know. So, but from what I've seen so far, the police is trying to keep up to the responsibility. I would say kudos to the Commissioner of Police in the state, Basi Ewa. He's new in the state, not up to 1 month, but people are feeling the impact of his presence here in the state. So kudos to them. That's also what the community members are saying. And all they're asking for is that they keep up this tempo so that with this, the bandits, wherever they are, however unknown they seem to be, they will be seen very soon. And this is the promise they are giving and reassuring the people of the state that sooner than later, this peace will be sustained. Right. So I think that's it on that.
Right. Chizoba, thank you so much for what we call fearless reporting as usual. And Deputy Commissioner, again, thank you so much for your insight, the work you are doing in Plateau State as well. We do continue to monitor this situation, if I dare to call it myself, and bring you critical information from Plateau State. Thank you so much for your time. As you know, should we go on a break quickly? Or
yes, we go on a quick break and we'll bring you the headlines in just a bit. Do stay with us. Morning once again. My name is Mazino Apil, and these are the headlines. We begin with political matters. Following the shift in the 2027 election timetable by Nigeria's electoral body, stakeholders have criticized the move, saying it puts early pressure on political parties expected to begin their primaries in April. This was as they converged on the nation's capital to deliberate on ways aimed at safeguarding the integrity of the 2027 elections. They say that while the timetable aligns with existing legal framework, its success will depend on early planning, adequate funding, and strict adherence to the rule of law.
These compressed timelines have implications for election logistics. So every stakeholder is going to be up on their feet planning because the elections is now going to hold in January. And so the bigger concern is political parties should note that by April 23rd, their primaries begin. This new law has clearly said that political parties must submit their register of members 21 days before the date of their primaries. This act has now also provided the content of a party register. We just hope and call on stakeholders to take note of these timelines, and we have to accelerate our preparations. And quite frankly, from the release of this timetable, every stakeholder is going to be under pressure to deliver high-quality elections.
In the meantime, the Oyo State High Court in Ibadan has upheld the 2025 elective convention of the People's Democratic Party, which produced Dr. Kabiru Turaki as the party's substantive national chairman. Justice Ladina Akintola ruled that the convention complied fully with constitutional and legal requirements governing party elections in Nigeria. The government followed The judgment followed an amended originating summons filed by Misibao Adetumbi on behalf of the claimants Folahon Malomo Adelabi. Meanwhile, the Turaki-led PDP National Working Committee, in a statement by National Publicity Secretary Ini Emembong, described the ruling as a victory. A victory for internal democracy and a victory for party unity.
The party seeking to be joined, they came to court. They sought for an adjournment, which we oppose. And they equally filed one application to set aside the proceeding of 25th of this month, which they participated actively. And we told the court that that is a tactic to arrest the judgment of the court, which is unknown to our law. So the court agreed with us, and then the court proceeded to deliver its ruling and judgment. The ruling is a result of the application to stay further proceedings, which the court refused because that was first taken. Then the court now proceeded to the judgment. And you've heard the judgment. The judgment is very clear. The court said it loud and clear that the convention held on the 15th and 16th was legally held, valid and proper. And that, since it was held pursuant to order of court, and INEC was here when that order was made, INEC, all authorities are bound to give effect to that convention, including INEC. So that is very clear in the judgment. So there is no doubt about that. So the convention remains valid and it remains legally until, except there is a contrary pronouncement from the appellate court. Well, the law is simple. When there are conflicting judgments of court of coordinate jurisdiction, the latter in time prevail. The one that come out last prevail.
So
this judgment prevail override the one of the Federal High Court because it came out last. The latter in time prevail when you have conflicting judgment of this court of the same jurisdiction. What this court cannot stand against is that of the appellate court.
All requirements that was required from the PDP to the INEC were already put in place. 21 days notice as required by the Electoral Act was served on INEC, and all the states where congresses were supposed to be held, they were held, and the report of same were served on the INEC. And that is why the court has now come to say that the convention was validly held. Remember that this convention was held based on the order of the court, which was interim earlier. The effect of this now is that whatever, they will now have a final judgment that validates that convention that was held at that time. So it's a welcome development, and it's a way of entrenching democracy. This is, parties can be aggrieved and come to court, and the courts will decide whichever way. I think that is what we have seen today. The party cannot function without national and state officers, and the court had just upheld that logic today.
Once we have achieved victory in this judgment, I think we have to continue to praise the rule of law. Because that is the last hope of anybody that feels aggrieved. The matter has been well judged, and the verdict of the court is very clear that the convention is valid and well did. So I thank God that we achieved the victory. That's all.
Now, Israel says it has launched what it describes as a preventative strike against Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz declared a state of emergency, saying the operation was aimed at removing threats to the country. Witnesses in Tehran reported hearing an explosion, while Iranian state television confirmed the blast without offering further details. Meanwhile, sirens sounded across Israel as the Israel Defense Forces warned of the possibility of Iranian missile retaliation. The military urged residents to remain close to protected spaces as a precautionary measure. And that's how we wrap the news, the headlines this morning here. Do stay tuned. We've got more conversation coming your way. Inam is a bit eager to get in on the conversations this morning. I'm wondering why, Inam. But let's round this up and let's get to the conversation so Inam can have her say. Welcome back. Now, conversation. Reports indicate that former Anambra State Governor and presidential candidate Peter Obi and former national chairman of the APC, John Odigie-Oyegun, narrowly escaped an alleged assassination attempt in Benin City. The incident, said to have happened during a political engagement, has raised serious concerns about the temperature of Nigeria's political climate as the 2027 elections approach.
Political violence is not something that's new in Nigeria, but when high-profile actors are reportedly targeted, it sends a message beyond party lines. It raises questions about security preparedness, intra-party tensions, and whether our democracy is drifting towards the dangerous normalization of intimidation. To unpack this, we are joined by Eunice Tanko, National Coordinator, Obedient Movement Worldwide, and Buggy Okwemoy, a Special Assistant to the Governor on Media and Publicity, Edo State.
Gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Buggy, we're going to come to you first because, of course, you represent Assistant to the Governor on Media and Publicity. I'm wondering what the Edo State government's position is on the situation that happened last week. Let's start from there before we start to pile the issues.
Thank you very much to be with you. Just a point of correction, it's special advisor, not special assistant.
I beg your pardon.
So over the last couple of days, the Edo State government has reiterated its position on what happened the other day. The government is disappointed in that incident. Governor Okwemoy is not happy about it. And why is that? Largely because the governor has invested so much resources and efforts in the last 1 year and a few months to ensure that we have the very safe, secure, and peaceful states that we've enjoyed over the last, since the administration came in. The governor has put in so much effort to deal with thuggery, to deal with gangsterism, to deal with cultism, to deal with urban crime. And we've largely enjoyed a very peaceful state, over the last couple of months. This is peace that we've enjoyed that has enabled us to host some very high-profile events. We had the APC Governors Forum, where all the APC governors came to Edo State sometime last year. We had the South-South APC Stakeholders Forum. In December, we had December celebrations that for the first time people declared to have been very peaceful without incidents. We had a carnival that lasted for 7 days. So we've had a very peaceful environment, and it's unfortunate to see the pictures that have come out of the activities with the ADC. While the governor has given a charge to security agencies to get to the bottom of the matter and identify the culprits that are responsible, the government has stated clearly that this is an isolated event that has roots in the intra-party crisis that the ADC has. As much as they try to deny, everybody's aware that there's a substantial intra-party crisis with the ADC. And that is what we think may have led to the activities that happened the other day. A lot of inconsistencies with the accounts, a lot of inconsistencies with the stories, but I mean, that kind of optics is coming is not what the governor wants. And the governor has mandated security agencies to get to the root of it. It's unfortunate that we've seen a lot of, with all due respect, irresponsible comments and statements from those that were involved, particularly the leadership of the ADC, as bad as throwing around the word assassination. That's a heavy word. That's not something the governor wants to hear. And it should have only been fair that they waited for the outcome of investigations that will now prove what the actual situation is. But definitely there was nothing close to an assassination attempt in what we saw, and those states.
Buggy, what?
ADC is not the only party in the state. There are several parties there. And
Buggy, just a second, Buggy.
Without issues.
So, if the word assassinations should have no association with the instance, then what would you call what happened with the bullets flying, the ruined cars, and all of that? Now, I'm not holding ground for anybody here. I just want to get to the definitive description of the situation on your side here. What would you associate it with? What kind of violence would that be? And when should it matter?
What's funny is that there really is even no evidential proof about what exactly happened. All that has been subject of conversations have been narratives, particularly from the ADC side, saying things that they said happened. In the last couple of days since that incident happened, so much of all those assertions have already been debunked. the assertion that people were shot, we found that not to be true. They can't even prove it, as even my co-guest who's going to be speaking also alluded to when he was on another station yesterday. The idea that, people came in, we don't even have the details. There's no video that even show the activities. We keep talking about shooting. We talk about, there was exchange of fire, there was an attempt. There's no evidence. We haven't seen. All we have seen in terms of video evidence or media evidence have been aftermaths. We see broken chairs, we see, and then we have some of their members speak. So I think it's just appropriate to allow the security agencies conclude their assignment and produce something we can hold as evidence and say, okay, this is what happened, or this isn't what happened. It's interesting. I was listening to Mr. Odigie-Oyegun, one of the leaders in the ABC yesterday, and he said when they asked him about the governor's statement, because the governor obviously had alluded to the fact that there was an intra-party issue, he said that was a bit too fast of the governor to have said, that he was a bit disappointed, that was preemptive. The governor should have waited. The governor should have first said they will get to the root of it, then waited before he said it's an inter-party. But that's exactly what they are doing. Without security confirmation, without any proof or anything, they immediately allude to the fact that somebody was trying to be assassinated.
Right.
So that's what I think. I think before heavy allegations are made as strong as assassination, as strong as who's involved and who's not involved, I think they should wait for the security agencies to do their job and produce a report on what exactly happened.
Mr. Yunusa Tanko, thank you so much for joining us, and I do hope that I'm audible enough for you to hear me. Now, in your own perspective, especially taking into consideration what Bogie has just mentioned, also looking at how long it takes for security enforcement to give us proper answers, would you say that this was a politically motivated assault, rather? And are there any evidences to substantiate that this might have been a politically motivated incident? If not, then the direction that it's leading in, what would you say it is? Mr. Tanko, can you hear me?
We do hope that Mr. Tanko can hear us. Mr. Tanko, if you can, please do confirm, because we're unable to hear you on this side.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Go ahead. Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I said thank you for having me, and I apologize for not having visual, because right now I'm in the international airport trying to travel. Quickly, I will not mix my words. Our position is very clear and with evidence. This attack was an assassination attempt on the lives of leaders of a political party, and at the same time, specifically on Mr. Peter Obi. And I say this with all level of sincerity and respect. We all know in Nigeria, the governor himself made a statement that he cannot guarantee the security of Mr. Peter Obi anytime he comes to Edo State. He asked specifically that Peter Obi must inform him before he can come into Edo State. And so that anything that Mr. Peter Obi sees, then he take it. This was the statement of the governor, and it was recorded and published everywhere in the world. I can even send you another copy in case you don't have it. Now, to further justify my claim, we were in Edo State for a philanthropic gesture that Mr. Peter Obi usually do. And he visited Philomena School of Nursing and Sciences at Downing Street, 23 Downing Street in Benin City. We were given a rousing reception by the students and leaders and proprietors of the school. After that, we found it very expedient to visit the house of the leader of the ADC, which is Chief Odigie-Oyegun. At that house, there was also Professor Usumbo, who was also an ex-governor. From there, we proceeded to the venue of the meeting where we were to receive Odigie-Oyegun. 2 or 3-story building, packed to the brim. We were informed that there's going to be an attack equal to the claim of the governor or the threat by the governor. And We already concluded our program successfully. Then we proceeded again back to Odigie-Oyegun's house to review what took place. Please and please, after we have left that place, 5 minutes after, the attack was executed. Everywhere was scattered. People were moving from one point A to another. Guns were shot. People were being maimed. Some are being shot with blood all over their body. And we can see it. The most attenuating and most challenging situation was that we thought that would have stopped there. That is why I can confirm to you it's an assassination attempt. They followed us to Oyegun's house. In fact, to tell you the truth, what I'm even suspecting, there's somebody inside within us in that particular building of the Oyegun family. It was one Peter Obi, myself, and Olumide Akpata, and the two ex-governors were aligning out of the house. We just moved out of the sitting room. That was when the first gun was shot. That means those people have laid siege around that building, waiting for us to come out. The first gunshot went pa. Second one followed pa. Then the security people have to move us back into the house. That was when the preventative shots continued. And then at the end of it all, that was where I saw the courage of His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, and his colleagues. They were not afraid of anything. They moved out to the building to see the level of damage, and we saw the level of damage to an unbelievable proportion. If it is not assassination attempt, please and please tell me what it is. They came to serve us and greet us and tell us welcome? No. Obviously, they followed us from this office down to his house. Lack of respect for him. So that is where we need people in positions of power to be well schooled. It's unfortunate that this kind of thing is happening, but we have already made all kinds of efforts to ensure that we seek for redress on this particular matter, and urgently so.
Thank you, Mr. Tanko. Now let's come back to Buggy. Buggy, now, the governor of Edo State did actually say something the sort which Mr. Tanko has just told us regarding Peter Obi's visit. At the time, he had said that if you were going to visit, it would be good to let us know. It was, however, framed as a protocol instance, a security protocol instance. But I'm wondering what the protocol is for political, especially opposing political figures when it comes to visiting states, and whether this was followed in this instance.
Thank you very much. To start with, Edo State, under the leadership of Governor Monday Okpebholo, is a very welcoming state to visitors, to residents. I mean, the Edo hospitality is globally renowned. Welcome. We appreciate everybody who comes into, but it also behoves on our guests and those who visit to reciprocate the courtesy of their host by respecting, the values and the what's obtainable in the society they go to. With all due respect to Mr. Tanko, he has to be a bit more circumspect in the way he talks and the things that he alleges. I'm happy that he said they have evidence that it was an assassination attempt. The security agencies are investigating, and we hope when he's called to provide that evidence on it being, because this is something Governor Monday Okpebholo is not going to joke with. He has put in too much effort to ensure that Edo State has the right image and the right perception outside. You can't demarcate the state with statements like that. So we hope when the security agencies call him in their investigation to provide that evidence, you'll be able to provide that evidence. Secondly, you see the inconsistency in their statements. Of course, when that happened, Governor Peter Obi quickly addressed the press, talked about how it was terrorism and, accused the state. If you watch the media appearances of Mr. Olu Akpata, he has been a bit more circumspect and tempered in his comments. On one of his appearances, he was categorically asked that, you escaped death by the whiskers. And he says, no, he doesn't think it's that serious. That he could have just said, and a few other people were in harm's way. And on another platform, when he was asked that, what do you think this was? He said, in his own opinion, it was like these people trying to send a message that, if you are going to practice, politics here, if you are not APC. So it was like an intimidation. But yet we have Mr. Tanko, yes, specifying specifically that.
So if the people indicated that it was,
so
if the people indicated that this was kind of like a right of way, if you can't practice your politics here, what does that say about the security situation in Edo State? And what does that say about the framing of Governor Okpewolo's initial statement from months ago? Now, when you take that and juxtapose it against the security... Go ahead then, I'd really like to know at this point.
Thank you, I'm coming there. That was Mr. Oluwakpata's opinion. That was his perception. That was his own impression. That's not the reflection of what's going on in Edo State. ADC is not the only political party in Edo State. We have several political parties. We have several political groups that are actively meeting and going about their businesses without issues. It's always the same set of people who always have issues whenever these issues come up. So that was Mr. Oluwakpata's, like I said, his opinion. Now, it's very convenient. Like I said earlier on, there is no evidence. The security agencies are doing their jobs. Whatever Mr. Tanko is talking about is his perception, his opinion, and his allegations. Whatever I am also talking about is also based on what I know. It is the security agencies that will give us an accurate impression. But as intelligent, logical people who are thinking, let's try and put one or two things together to see what the source of this could actually be, where this is actually coming from. It is a bit hypocritical for the ADC and people like Mr. Tanko to something happened a couple of days ago. And when we are trying to look for motive, they choose to go to July last year to pick a motive from a statement the governor made that the governor has on several fora explained and clarified that this was an advisory. It wasn't a threat. The governor can't tell anybody not to come to Edo State. It was an advisory based on his responsibility as the chief security officer of the state, who's responsible for maintaining order and protecting his people, has said, you are a high-profile person. If you are coming, it's necessary for us to give you, courtesies and ensure that not everybody likes Peter Obi, just the same way not everybody likes the governor. So somebody who probably has a grudge against you or has something against you, you can't rule out the fact that they might say, oh, let's take advantage of his coming to harm me. Just let me know when you are coming, which the governor has said. And what's funny is that after the governor said that, Mr. Peter Obi had come to this same Benin City a couple of times after that without issues. One I clearly remember is when he came to see the Igbinedians for an event. Nothing has happened since then. Now, something happens in February 2026, and rather than focus and look for motive in what happened a day before their intra-party crisis, they choose to go and look at what happened in July last year. When they try to defend this inter-party team, they restrict the conversation to Senator Owe to say, oh, Senator Owe was there was an argument about this, and that he was at the event the next day. The crisis that happened the day before in front of Odigie-Oyegun's house had a lot of people.
Buggy
was just one of those who were involved in all of that. Yes.
Buggy, just a second now. Inam has a very big question for you, but I wanted to ask, in line with what you're talking about now, I wanted to ask Mr. Tanko what security protocols were followed when the visits to Edo State happened. Mr. Tanko, if you could give us that.
The attacker was in that particular building. A renowned lawyer, former MBA chairman, president. Now, I have it on authority. Not only did we follow protocol by informing the police and everybody that needed to be informed, he personally also picked up his phone and spoke to the police commissioner. He spoke to the police commissioner, informing him that such a gathering is going to take place. And then the police commissioner told him that that's not a problem. It's a normal thing that happens in the political scene and all. So, of course, they will make sure that things are done accordingly. But let me go further. Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was very clear. The lives and properties of Nigerians should be protected by the office holder. And that is where we are missing some of these points. The governor, in this respect, is maybe they need to be more schooled, with all due respect. And I'm not referring to him only, but majority of our leaders must be properly schooled in the act of governance. To govern means that you are in charge of everybody, those you like and those you don't like. It is your right to protect them. Whether they inform you or they not inform you, the Constitution makes sure it is clear and spelled out. So the moment such a gathering is being informed to you, or you even have a window of it, especially in the case of high-profile individuals. Former governors, 2 former governors of your state are there, including a visiting former governor. It is impertinent on you as a governor to provide that particular security, whether seek for or not seek for, because it's a constitutional right to do so. In other words, that is to protect also yourself, because this kind of thing could have happened, and then people will be taking, what did the governor do to make sure that he followed his constitutional right? So any way he tries to look at it, they have failed woefully in their constitutional duty.
Thank you, Mr. Tanko.
And that is the truth.
Thank you, Tanko.
Now, Mr. Bogie, I'll come back to you because, again, like you said, right now it's like a he said kind of situation. And right now it would seem as though we are trying to run away from putting a label to the incident that transpired. I think in your own educated opinion in terms of investigation, you did say that this does not necessarily substantiate the culture of Edo State, because this is not necessarily something that tends to happen. But I'd like to hear from you in your own understanding. How would you classify this incident? Okay, it was not an assassination attempt. Are we saying it was not an assassination attempt and it was an intimidation because nobody was harmed? If a person would have been harmed, then we would have been having a different conversation. So I'd like to hear from you. As we stand right now, there is no label to this. What would you, as the advisor, say this situation is? I don't know if my question is clear.
Yes, it's clear. I can't label what I don't understand. I can't label what I don't know. Like I said, a lot of what is in this public space about this event and about this occurrence are hearsays. There's very little video evidence. There's very little, media evidence. It's largely what they have put out that forms the content of the conversation. So I can't give a tag to what I don't know. But from what I have seen and from what I know, I can tell you what it's not. I mean, look at the narrative.
And what is it not? Sorry, apologies, sir. Apologies.
It is not an assassination attempt. It's
so
not
based
an
on,
attempt
you mentioned something, so sorry, apologies. You mentioned something earlier and you had said, when we look at it from an educated standpoint, we reason together. You are telling us what it is not. And based on what you have seen for what it is not, what would you then in analysis say that it is? This is what I'm trying to get to. You don't have to say what you do not know, but based on what you do know, what would you say this is?
That I don't know what something is does not mean you must know what something is. Sometimes when you have a medical condition, when you have a medical condition and you go to see the doctors, part of what the doctors do is they do their tests to rule out certain things. So they do their tests and say, okay, this is not cancer. They don't still know what it is yet, but they can rule out certain things. And that's the same logical ideology I'm putting at this. Mm-hmm. We can tell what it's not. We'll wait for the police who have more information to now piece all of those information together to say this is what it is. But from the initial symptoms that we see, we know what it's not. Look at the narrative. They came as a group. I mean, he was decamping. Mr. Oluwapata was decamping to the ADC. They came as a crowd to the event. There was dancing. We saw those videos. There was dancing. There was marrying. They went up. They held their meeting. And according to them, while they were in the meeting, they got reports, which is another very major thing we need to look at. It is unlikely that the person who gave you that report that they are coming to attack you is an APC member. It is more likely that it is one of your agents and one of your people that called you to give you that security report. Okay. We need to ask questions. You probably need to let the security agencies know who that person is. How did he get that information?
Right,
how did he know that was going to happen?
Buggy.
They left there. Yes.
Yes, we are out of time. So if you could just summarize in 30 seconds your final remarks here, and then I'll come to Tanko. But real quick, please.
Does not practice that kind of politics. Governor Okpebholo is a godly person. He's a very humble person. If you see the way he has attacked gangsterism, cultism, and other vices, criminal vices, you know that's not his way. What's funny is that in one of the appearances of Mr. Oluwapata, they asked him that has the governor reached out? What relationship do you have with the governor? Has the governor reached out to you since this happened? And he said he has a fairly cordial relationship with the governor, that when they meet at events, they exchange pleasantries, and that when his dad passed on, the governor called him to express condolences. That's Governor Monday Okpebholo for you. He holds no grudges. That's somebody who contested an election with him just about a year ago. So that's not Governor Monday Okpebholo's style. We appeal to those who come into Edo State to respect. I heard Mr. Tanko say, and he repeated it today again, that whether Peter Obi informs the governor or not of coming, he should be provided security. Is he a spirit to know how you're going to move? Come into town without telling anybody. You hold an event and you think security will be provided.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bugia. Mr. Tanko, a final remark, sir, before we let both of you go.
It designates a management from the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University. Permit me to share my own act of knowledge in governance. The government do not need to overflow this matter. They should take their phones. The governor should apologize. Call each and every of these persons who are former governors before he became a governor, and apologize to them for his inability to provide them with security, protecting their lives as enshrined in the Constitution. And at the same time, promise that this particular matter will be thoroughly investigated and the report will be given to the public accordingly. That way, it will have given him an opportunity to show that he has learned the rudiment of governance, which is very important for the people of Edo State, at least to cover them from the show of shame that took place on that particular day. For me, that would have been a very, at least, better attempt for him to know that the people are watching and they are listening, and they will act appropriately when they are not being governed well.
All right,
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Mr. Tanko, thank you very much. Odigie-Oyegun, thank you as well, gentlemen, for being with us on this conversation. We'll continue to monitor what's happening in the situation. And of course, if we have cause to bring you back on the show, we will. Let's go now. We'll be back with another conversation. Do stay with us.
You're welcome back. If you're still with us, you know that it only gets deeper and deeper. If you're just joining us, this is Breakfast Extra on a Saturday morning. Now, in this story, the resignation of the Inspector-General of Police has once again placed the spotlight on leadership stability within the Nigerian police force. With Kayode Egbetokun stepping aside, expectations are already mounting around the appointment of his successor, who now inherits old structural challenges and fresh public scrutiny.
Police leadership transitions in Nigeria are rarely just administrative. They carry political weight and public consequence. Rising insecurity, public distrust, and reform promises remain unresolved. Now attention turns to how the new leadership intends to balance operational effectiveness with genuine institutional reforms. So to examine this shift, we are joined by Kingsley Egbelum here, Egbulem, I beg your pardon, here in the studio. He's a social entrepreneur, and also Benga Ade Mujimi, a human design systems coach. We were supposed to have Moyele Shore on with us, but at the last moment he had to pull out because of other circumstances. But gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much for being here with us. Good to have you guys.
Pleasure, always to be here.
Great. Kingsley, let's start with you in the studio here. Since you took time to join us in the studio, and Gbenga wants to be on Zoom, so Gbenga, I'll come to you next. Yeah. But Kingsley, now when you heard about the resignation of the IG, what came to mind? What came to mind based on the fact that we know that there has been so much talk about his tenure and the fact that he shouldn't have been there in the first place, and the reforms that had to happen in the House for him to remain there, only to have him cut short yet again before the end of that arrangement. Yeah. What did you think about this zigzagness?
Well, it's the usual Nigeria thing. I'm not surprised. But I also believe, knowing Disu up close, he's good. He's exceptional, and he has a lot of history working for him. And some of the things he did in Lagos, we still have them around. The Rapid Response Squad, is it? Yeah. RRS, they still model what an ideal police should be. Okay. But how do you translate that into the entire country? That's a problem. I don't know whether he's got capacity to navigate through the political dynamics of Nigeria. Somebody was saying we had a town, is it a town hall?
Town hall?
different from...
Balablu.
Yeah. On Thursday here.
Inam is lost. She's South African.
Lost.
I know Balablu.
Oh, okay. We'll bring you up to speed. Up to speed, rather. So we have the town hall here on Thursday. And somebody said policing in the north is not the same as policing in the south. And what it takes to prevent crime in the north is different from what it takes to prevent crime here. And I'm sure he's referring to civil crimes, not insurgency that they're dealing with right now. So I don't know how Disu intends to fly above that delicate, balancing. But on the strength of what he's done in Lagos, I think we have hope. But now, we still have some issues that are not yet resolved, which is, and that's the big deal for me, the number of police officers that will leave the force.
Have to retire.
Because of Disu's appointment.
Yes, exactly.
I think for the first time, we need to stop these guys from leaving. We need to do something to make the police change its tradition, to see you can have a senior officer who is competent and you shouldn't have problems working with him. I don't think
Kingsley,
it's a crime.
Good that you noted that. We're going to come back to that in the latter part of this conversation. But I just wanted to note something that you said, that Disu had worked here in Lagos before under Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
No, not under Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
But definitely here in Lagos.
Yeah, he worked under Ambode and
Ambode, yes.
Later date of the last phase of Fashola's.
So I want us to note that and how it works into the dynamics here with the relationship between Lagos State and himself and the presidency and Lagos State, by extension the presidency and the new IG. Right. But we'll come to that. Inam, I'm sorry.
Benga, I'd like to come to you. Thank you again for joining us. Based on some of the remarks that Kingsley has made, this also speaks to public trust. What can you say about the public trust when it comes to policing and rebuilding that? What does rebuilding that look like?
Okay, thank you very much, New Central. Thank you, Kingsley, for that analysis, and I so much support you. But guess what? That trust that is bankrupt already. That trust we are talking about there is bankruptcy. Do you understand? You see, there's something you call EBA, emotional bank account. Also, you have trust bank account, TBA. The trust bank account of Nigerians and their friends, or our friends, police, as I speak to you, maybe we can find 1 naira or 10 naira there because of their behavior, their attitude, their lifestyle, So we cannot say, that trust is there. That's my response to that. Now, in rebuilding that trust, IGP Tunji Disu needs to walk extra mile this time. His antecedents, his success stories, his breaking of barriers in Lagos State is undeniable. I'm one of the people who worked with him from the outside as a coach to renew the mindset of our police officers in 2016 and some years after, You see a man who wants things to work, IGP Tunji Disu. You see a man who is professional. You see a man who is patriotic, loyal to his state and to his people and to his country. However, Kingsley said, and I'm going to repeat, police and policing in the southern part of Nigeria is a different ball game from police and policing in the northern part of Nigeria. How he is going to navigate and paddle his boat in the oceans of politicians. How he's going to navigate and fly his aircraft above the politics and the corruption of the big wigs of the country. These are the challenges in front of
Benga, I see where you're going here, and I want us to get to that fun bit real quick. So I'm going to ask this question. Why do you think the former IG was retired? Do you think it was based on performance? And when I say performance, let's put that in quote, because we have the elections coming, and if an entire reform had to be had to keep him in office, what happened thereby necessitating him being removed before the end of that tenure? Is it that his performance before the 2027 elections has come into question, or is it just reform here? What do you think, Benga?
For me, it is reform. For me, it's reform, trust me. You see, there's something I noticed about Mr. President. He is taking the reformations of different sectors step by step without making noise, without announcing it that this is what I want to do. That's what I'm observing. That's what I'm seeing here. IGP Kayode Egbetokun, former IGP Kayode Egbetokun, resigned according to his statement based on family issues. But you and I know that that is one of our problems in Nigeria. We cover up things for public officers. Listen, I can cover my track because I'm not a public officer. I am not a civil servant. But as long as you swear that oath, hey, you have nothing to hide again about your private and public life. So we all know that that's a cover-up. In Yoruba land, they will say, when mouth don't do too much for your body, go inside, go sleep. My observation is that mouth too much for our Oga, former Oga, mouth too much for him body. Is it from our policemen embarrassing us in front of Mazino, you know what I'm talking about. One of our bikers came in, one of our colleagues outside Nigeria rode into Nigeria, and our officers were begging for $. They were asking for money. Police is a reflection of the people, of the community.
I find this very interesting, Benga, and Kingsley here in the studio actually had a snigger when you said something. You're going to explain what that was. But the point is this: when it comes to the when it comes to the switch in police and police authority, we often want to take a look at it from two angles. It's about the people and their security, but then there are other nuances to this. When you put in the dynamics of the elections and how involved the police is when it comes to elections, the police are proximate to elections, whether you like it or not. So is this for the national good regarding security, or is it actually based on, you know, looking forward at 2027 elections and the security implications of that? I don't know if you agree with me, Kingsley, or if you have anything you'd like to say regarding that. Inam, I'm sorry, I know you had a question,
no, it's
but
okay.
I had to.
For a long time, our police has remained has been a tool in the hands of political bigwigs. If you need to crush your opponents, you use the police. If you need to crush uprising, whether it's a peaceful protest, civil disobedience, you use the police. If you want to, is it debt collection now? You want somebody's owing you money, and you want to collect the money, use the police. If you're traveling from one part of the country to another and you don't want anybody to stop you at the checkpoint, you use the police. If you have a property and you don't want people going into the property, you use the police. So we have a police that has been so messed and decimated. We have a police that has no iota of dignity. So they are at the ground level. IGP or acting IGP Tunji Disu read mass communication, first degree and second degree. And he has comported himself as somebody who uses the instrumentality of communication to police. And it's done well in Lagos State. Now, while Benga was talking, I did the math, and I realized Lagos is actually 5-6 states put together. Perhaps the president wants to make a statement. I want to be cautious and optimistic that he wants to make a difference, and using IGP Tunji Disu's experience, he wants to leverage that experience to make a statement. But those of us who have been dealing with the police has become a mirror. When we look into this mirror, we don't like what we see.
Right.
We feel offended because this mirror also is showing us who we are. The man who wants to oppress Mazino using the police, is he as decent or crooked as the police? Of course, he's a crooked person. And so he needs the police to express that crookedness. Do you get? So what I want us to get to is for Disu to make a statement and tell himself that, look, I'm not going to be here for long. I want to leave something behind such that when my name is mentioned, people will say, I did this, I did this, I did this. I think that's where we are now. It's a level of hope. And somebody say hope is not a strategy, but that's where we are now.
Right. Kingsley, piggybacking on what you've just said, with the statement that Disu needs to make, what do you think his first 100 days in office should look like? What should he prioritize?
What reforms should we be looking forward to?
Okay. So let me put myself in his shoes, and that will help me. I want to empower Nigerians to express a subtle outrage against police misconduct.
Outrage?
Yes. I want to empower Nigerians. I want to say, please, if you find yourself headbutting the police and you feel you have been wronged, please report. And I will use those reports as an example to let Nigerians know that this is your police. What you allow is what you're going to get. That is what I'm going to do. And then I will empower the state governors. Now, do you know, Mazino, I don't know if you know this. Have you ever heard any state governor calling out the police?
I'm checking my memory.
You will do that till maybe next month. I haven't heard a case where a governor is addressing his people and he's telling the police, please don't abuse my people. Don't abuse their rights.
Why is this so?
Because they work in tandem. The governors use the police and the police set, and they end up settling the police. Now, you know, we have this state police trust fund. It is meant to become it's meant to be a supplementary funding for the police. But when a governor is giving you patrol vehicles, would you want to go against the governor? No. So I would want governors to call out their police commissioners. So this is what I'm going to do. So when a governor is telling the commissioner and his police, your IGP has empowered me. And he's saying that if any of my men misbehaves, I am going to call him out. And the IGP will do something. So that way, you have taken over a large territory. You've empowered the community to checkmate the police. And then you can now go about the other reforms you want to do. The moment you arm the community to police those who are policing them, we have a kind of peer review mechanism where I'm not going to mess up. You cannot use me to settle scores. Do you understand? And I can easily say, hey, this is against the law. I don't care who you are. So we haven't gotten to that point where everybody feels helpless when it comes to the police. We feel so small when it comes to the police. Despite the way they carry themselves, we are not able. Do you know? I'll just close on this. I was driving through Otedola. You know, I live in that axis. So these guys were stopping people, and there was this traffic that was building up. They didn't give a damn. So it got to my turn. I said, sir, are you aware that there's a traffic build up here? The people you want to check, can you park them? Take your time to check them. The guy said, get out, don't teach me my work. I said, this is not your work.
It's ours.
It's our work. I want you to succeed. If you succeed, I'll be fine. Do you understand? I said, so it doesn't require complicated intelligence to park the guy you're checking so that the traffic keeps moving. Now you're stopping this guy. You're not even sure what you want to do with him. And there's so much vehicles waiting for you to finish with the guy. And guess what happened eventually? He just had a fist bump with the guy and
let you go.
That's very interesting, actually. Benga, I'd like to come to you. We're looking at first 100 days, we're looking at reforms, and we're looking at what we call the police being friends of the government, and I say friends of the people. And I say this because it was this week, Mazino, was it not, that we also had the Lagos Police Commissioner, Moshood Jimo, who was also at News Central, talking about what it is for the police to be friends of the people. What would you say needs to be prioritized in terms of reforms and first 100 days?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to take it from where Kingsley stopped. Yes, CP Jimo said it when we were together a few days ago, that police is not just our friends, but police is our partners now. So we are happy to hear that.
We are the boss.
Now, yes, we are the boss.
That's
and
the
they
word
are our servants. Yes. Now, the next thing is rebranding of the mind of the police and their physical appearance. The branding of their mind re-engineering. There must be a reorientation to these people. It is very key. Number two, reputational management. Reputational management must be taken seriously because the reputation of Nigerian police is not there. They don't have one. You will see the wide difference between the corporate police officers, the graduates who are in the offices, who sit inside the AC. You will see a clear difference between them and the ones on the road. Culture change. Culture change. The culture of police in Nigeria is bad. You see a 5-year-old girl, a 7-year-old boy asking them about Nigerian police, they will tell you, I want to be collecting 50 naira. So when you ask a teenager, when you ask a child in Nigeria, what is the culture of the police? Collecting of money on the road. More police must be recruited. More police must be recruited, especially graduates. When we go to other countries, we see them on the road. Graduates should be on the road. We don't want miscreants. We don't want thugs as our police again. It's sad. Yesterday, on my way out of Lagos, a police stopped me, checked all the papers, everything completed, and he was still asking me for a CMR that is in front of him. He was holding. He said, "Where is your CMR?" I said, "Okay, it's in your hand. Allocation of plate number." I said, "This is it. You will see a police officer, you will give them a paper, they will turn it upside down." What are we talking about?
I mean, that's the educational side.
Change their pay. Change their pay. Change their pay. Not just increase. Change their pay. What you are paying police, what Nigerian government is paying police is an insult upon their destiny. Is an insult upon their destiny. And how do someone work for 30, 35 years and at the end of the day you are paying 2.5 billion naira as his take home? Is an insult. And lastly, state police must be created. State police creation.
Yeah, but
we cannot run.
These are not within his
capacity. All right, Benga, we're going to take a break now,
days.
Benga. And when we come back, we're going to continue with this conversation. But just before we do that, there is information which we brought to you as we started the show today. But there is new information now that U.S. and Israel have launched attacks on Iran. As Trump says, major combat operations are underway. So once again, you heard it here. U.S. and Israel have launched attacks on Iran. We will look at the details when we come back from this short break. Do stay with us. We're still on this conversation. This is Breakfast Extra. And you're welcome back. Breaking news coming your way here from News Central here on Breakfast Extra. Israel says it has launched what it describes as a preventative strike against Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz declared a state of emergency, saying the operation was aimed at removing threats to the country. And witnesses in Tehran reported hearing an explosion, while Iranian state television confirmed the blast without offering further details. A bit of summary here. The U.S. and Israel say they've launched that attack on Iran. As President Donald Trump confirms, major combat operations, as he put it, are underway. And Israel Defense Forces say retaliatory strikes have been launched by Iran. Now, Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz says his country launched a preemptive, as he calls it, attack on Tehran. And as the Israeli military say, Iran has fired retaliatory missiles. And And also images show smoke rising in Tehran as explosions have been heard in 5 cities across Iran. And Washington has been ramping up the pressure on Tehran to agree to a new deal on its nuclear program. Trump said no on Friday. He wasn't happy with Iran's negotiation position during nuclear talks, saying they haven't said the magic words yet. No, we will not continue with nuclear experiments. And memories are still fresh from the 12-day war with Iran last June, which severely depleted Iranian air defenses. So plenty is out on the jury when it comes to how this will go. But they are themselves prepared, as Tehran has said, they will match force with force. We'll continue to bring you details about the processes happening between these countries and the situation there in Iran here on News Central, so do stay with us. We will continue with our conversation after this. Welcome back. And now let's continue our story from before. We were talking about the new IG, or rather the replacement of the old IG, Kayode Egbetokun, the implications and what it means for Nigeria, especially as we continue to look towards 2027, what the architectures in place will mean for the elections turnout. And, well, we still have in the studio with us here, Kingsley Ebelum is still with us. We also have Mr. Benga online, but I think we might need to reconnect on that one. Kingsley, so let's continue this conversation here. We're talking about reform, whether this means real reform. There are 2 ways to look at this, and I mentioned that before we went on the break regarding the political nature we're driving toward now, and real reform, which everybody has been asking for when it comes to the police. Benga was on the verge of touching on something regarding how the police, you know, what's the word now? How they communicate,
how they go about their policing.
Yeah, exactly. How they go about their policing. There's so much talk about state police in the past couple of years. Do you think that this would be, now that we have the new IG Disu coming in, this would be the right time to start talking about state policing, using the police architecture to actually communicate with cultures, communities, one-on-one? Do you think this is the best time for community police conversation? Well,
we can kick. I mean, we've been having that conversation, but it's not within the terms of reference of the IGP to move that to move discussions on that issue. It is a legislative issue. It is something that the National Assembly would need to sit down and discuss with Nigerians and say, okay, finally we need to move this forward. But the new IGP, you know, Benga was talking about pay, conditions of service, and all of that. There are things outside his control. But what I think are within his control is that of rebuilding the damaged image of the police. He needs to, as a matter of urgency, do that.
So what would the common Nigerian see in the ordinary police that will make him believe that there's reform happening that has changed that image?
The civility.
Civility.
It begins with how you engage.
Okay. And we can liken this civility we're looking for to what other authority? Does the army have it? Do the Navy have it? Should our police act?
We shouldn't, if we have a decent functioning police, we shouldn't be seeing the army on a daily basis. We shouldn't be engaging with the army. The army is not trained to relate with a civil...
internal security.
Yes. It is regional security, border control, and all of that stuff. If we have our police working, we shouldn't be... I mean, there are countries you go to, you hardly find the army. You don't see them. But here, because we keep bringing them out to settle scores, because we have... discountenance the police. So and the army comes in, you see the police officers all shuddering. You should not have a police officer and a military officer coming head to head. But we do that here. Okay. So I think one of the things this man, Disu needs to do, and he's done it in Lagos, is to redraft the rules of engagement between the police and civil society. And what is that? Respect the people you're policing, and they will in turn respect you. It's as simple as that. And then, Mazino, you walk into a police station, what do you expect? What do you want? What did the person do? You see, this tug, this bus conductor, garage attitude, we can checkmate that. And what do you need to do? Start to retrain and retrain and retrain. Like Benga was talking, I thought about the power of capacity building. When you move people back to the classroom and you bring them back to society, they become a different people. So in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know how long he's going to stay, he needs to invest in capacity building. The man who doesn't have oranges cannot make apple juice for you. So take them back to where you brought them from, rework the curriculum, and then start to train them. If you spend the next 1 year, I'm sure you can achieve that. And then start to advocate, because that is also within his power. While you may not increase the pay of the police, you can start advocating for
definitely
a better pay.
the recruiting process is something
Right.
that has to be looked at.
I think we have Benga. Benga is back with us.
Benga back, yes.
Benga, let's take a look now at the fact that Disu has been sworn in officially, but this means forced retirements, if I can say, or not the word demotions, rather, Mazino.
Yeah.
But
Forced retirement, yeah.
Forced retirements for his seniors.
Yeah.
What can we make of this? Does this strategy work in Nigeria right now, or is there a way in which we can restructure this? But just enlighten us a bit on these forced retirements that are non-negotiables at this point.
Okay, for me, like Isley said the other time, that I don't think it's a problem for junior officers to work with senior officers. I don't think it's a problem. What we are looking for is competence. You know, that's what we are looking for. We are looking for competence, we are looking for character, we are looking for commitment. Do you understand? So for me, our government, maybe through National Assembly, I don't know how they want to handle that, we should have a structure that will not ridicule anyone and that will not elevate somebody above normal. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That you follow the due process, you know, that this person, this is where you belong. And on a certain stage, this is where you belong. So by that, there is no confusion. Because what we have most of the time when this kind of thing happen is confusion. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Most of the time, what we have is confusion. You know, but when we have this structure on ground, there will not be confusion at all. That's my take.
Okay, then. Well, I also wanted to know what your take was regarding the elections are coming, but we have run out of time, Benga, so we're going to end that conversation here. And thank you very much, Benga, for joining us via Zoom, and thank you very much, Kingsley, for coming in
Thank you for inviting me.
The studio appearance here. We really appreciate that. We'll continue to see how this goes, and hopefully we look forward to a proper Nigerian police where everybody can tell reform has taken place with the addition of a new IG. Well, we continue to hope and pray. Let's take a break. We're going to be taking a look at that breaking story in a bit with our guests as we take a look at the geopolitics happening around the world here, especially with America, Israel, and of course, Iran. Stay with us. Welcome back, and it's still breaking news as we continue to follow developing stories in Iran after it has been launched at by the US and Israel. We have information reaching us, and also by the BBC. Bahrain's National Communication Center says the service center of the US Navy's Fifth Fleet has been subjected to a missile attack of its own, according to a statement quoted by the state-run Bahrain news agency. Now, they say further details will be provided in due course. The public has been urged to follow instructions issued by the relevant officials, authorities, and also to obtain information from official sources only. If you remember, Bahrain is home to the headquarters of the Fifth Fleet, whose area of responsibility includes the Gulf, Red Sea, Arabian Sea, and also parts of the Indian Ocean. And there was no immediate comment from the U.S. military, although the U.S. Embassy said earlier that they had warned citizens to shelter in place amid reported threats of Israel, or missiles rather, and drones over Bahrain. Now, remember, this is coming off the information that the U.S. and Israel have launched an attack on Iran as President Donald Trump has confirmed that there are major combat operations underway, and the Israel Defense Force says retaliatory strikes have also been launched by Iran.
Right. Now, Mazina, I think it's also important to note, as you've mentioned, that Iran's Revolutionary Guard says that it has launched first large-scale wave of retaliatory missiles and drone strikes towards Israel. Bahrain as well says that a missile attack has targeted U.S. Navy 5th Fleet headquarters in the country, while a missile has been intercepted in Qatar. This is according as well to Al Jazeera that an explosion has also been reported in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, while countries across the region have shut down their airspaces. It's also been noted that multiple explosions have been heard in Iran's capital, Tehran, as we previously mentioned, while blasts have also reported or have been reported in other several locations across the country. Now, there is no immediate official Iranian reaction, but state media is reporting that President Massoud is safe and he is sound. Now, as you know, this is a very interesting one, especially considering the fact that, you know, in the, I think President Trump in his peace board or thingy that he opened up, he did mention that they were actions that were going to be, you know, taken towards Iran, though he wasn't very clear as to what the actions would be. And, you know, a lot of speculation around why Trump is doing some of the things that he's doing. Is he deflecting from the fact that, you know, there's the Epstein saga that's going on now? And, you know, people would dare to say things like, there's a lot of things going on in the U.S. Why are you putting these to the side and, you know, prioritizing things that are outside of home? But I don't know, Mazino. This is a very tricky one. A lot of controversy around President Donald Trump at this particular time. I don't know.
Well,
what's your take on it?
I don't have a take. I'm normally just a spectator when it comes to issues regarding the U.S. because these days you don't know exactly where it's going to go. I was watching an interview with former President Barack Obama talking about the culture currently and how different it is from whatever it is that he's used to. However, once again, Donald Trump has actually announced that there are combat operations that are happening against Iran. He accused the Iranian regime of waging an unending campaign, he says, of bloodshed and mass murder targeting the United States. The U.S. president also released a video on Truth Social in the early hours of the morning in the U.S., shortly after explosions were reported in the Iranian capital, Tehran, which they have retaliated for. We just told you the areas that have been struck by Iran currently, although there has been no Iranian comment regarding this. Now, what did President Trump say? He said the U.S. president says Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and explains that is why Operation Midnight Hammer, that's what it's called, struck Iran's nuclear program at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. Now, Trump also claims that Iran has rejected every opportunity to renounce the nuclear ambition and continue to develop long-range missiles that can threaten allies in Europe, U.S., and also could soon reach the American homeland. And he says that the U.S. is going to raise Iran's missile industry to the ground and annihilate its navy. And he also says that the Iranian regime has chartered death to America for 47 years, he claims. He has plenty to say, and apparently this has been backed with action this morning as there were strikes reported in Iran by U.S. and Israeli forces.
But I really, Mazino, really love the fact that Iran is also not taking it lying down. Iran says, or the armed forces rather have said, they are fully prepared to make the aggressors regret their actions. Now, Iran's foreign minister or the ministry says Israeli attacks this morning have targeted the country's territorial integrity and national sovereignty, including defensive infrastructure and non-military locations in various cities across the country. Now, I quote here that the renewed military aggression by the United States and the Zionist regime against Iran constitutes a violation of international law and the principle of the United Nations Charter. That's where the United Nations comes in again. And I know for a fact that a response from the Secretary of the United Nations is going to be something that people are anticipating. I beg your pardon, the Iranian nation has always, and this again is a quoted statement, that the Iranian nation has always demonstrated patience and restraint to prevent escalations and persevere regional stability. We saw this because when there was a tit-for-tat kind of thing where it looked like President Donald Trump was instigating, wanting and hoping for a reaction. The Iranian government still, in such a way, stayed diplomatic and kept silent. And of course, it said there that it read and it added that the armed forces stands fully prepared to defend the country and will make aggressors again regret their actions. Now, the statement added that the attacks by the United States and Israel were a clear example of armed aggressions and cited Article 51 of the UN Charter about Iran's right to self-defense.
Thank you, Inam. Now, we do have a guest on this conversation, even if it is breaking news. We have Alexander von Roggen joining us, international geopolitical analyst. Alexander, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Short question. What is happening now, Alexander?
Well, I think we've all been anticipating this due to the buildup over the past 4 to 6 weeks. The Americans have needed to get their chess pieces in line. The arrival of the last aircraft carrier, the Ford, just came in this week. I think it's near Haifa right now, and that was the catalyst to being able to fulfill the plan. They needed 2 aircraft carriers for multiple, or at least dual deployment sites. My information this morning is F-22 Raptors are also landing in Israel. This is the first time they've deployed them on Israeli soil as a takeoff point for any aircraft attacks or aircraft defenses against an aircraft attack on Israel. They've been spending the last 4 weeks in the military game room working out scenarios, where to attack. Obviously, they're going to target military installations, government installations, key military personnel in Iran, and of course, the nuclear sites, the missile sites. Trump's speech was very specific. We're going to get you and annihilate the concerns we have, which is your nuclear industry, your missiles, and the Islamic Guard. We're going to stop the proxy wars that have been going on, which means they likely have identified proxy heads, Hezbollah, Houthis, and Hamas. And that's one thing Israel is very good at, targeting and surgically removing them. But that takes time. They have to track movements. They have to know where they're hiding. They gather intelligence from within. It's well known Mossad is well deployed within Iran. And they've been integrated there for many, many years. So that ground collection of data is very, very vital to military strategy. So by no means think that this is a knee-jerk reaction. This is well planned. The targets are known. It's going to be surgical. Trump has warned Iranians, we're not against you. We're shelter in place and use this opportunity to rebel against your regime. Much of what we've seen going on in the last 6 weeks in Iran with the protests. The first time, interesting to note that Trump said tens of thousands of Iranians have been killed. Iran has put out press releases that 3,100 people have died in the protests in Iran. We've always thought that true number is likely to be about 35,000. So numbers.
Alexander, let's look at the measure of force here when it comes to this issue. We're talking about the American military. It's the biggest armada that's ever been sent offshore to another country that the Americans have ever seen. Not just that, internally, there were certain skepticisms where one of his chief military officers actually said that this might not be the best idea. We are growing thin on different angles here, so sending such an armada to Iran might not be the best. What exactly is America's interest when it comes to Iran and its interest in nuclear weaponry, and the positioning for America when it comes to these attacks and the allies, Israel in this case?
Well, okay, lots of questions there. Iran has been financing proxy wars. They've been doing it in Africa, which is close to home, especially for Nigeria. They've done it in the Sahel. They're doing it in Sudan. Of course, they have the October 7th attack in Gaza and in Israel. Iran has announced they will retaliate in full form to all the surrounding countries that harbor U.S. bases or are allies of America. That's a pretty big grid plan. And that concern of the U.S. general was we're going to have to protect multiple points. So in the last 4 weeks, you'll note they've been evacuating embassies, reducing non-military personnel on bases, basically keeping it just the military in these presence. They've also had to position themselves because certain countries have denied them access to their airspace. The UAE is very concerned about it. Oman's concerned about it. Saudi's concerned about it because they feel that by doing this, they are going to somewhat appease Iran in non-retaliatory attacks. The other concern is intelligence is indicating there may be Iranian sleeper cells throughout America, and as which has been recently indicated in Mexico, hiring Mexican cartel hitmen to operate within the United States. They tried to assassinate the Saudi ambassador and also the Israeli ambassador. So this network of terrorism is global. It's not just particular to Iran at this point. And the concern is if we don't know the intel and we don't know what we're dealing with, we're going by braille in certain areas, and we have to be prepared for it. That was
the alliance with Israel?
Well, the alliance with Israel has been there for years. I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Who controls the decision here? Is it Netanyahu or Trump? I think from time to time, Trump will take an action and he'll upset Netanyahu, especially on his recent trip to Saudi Arabia last year, where he attacked the Houthis, which are enemies of Saudi Arabia. But Saudi had a big contract, a defense contract with America. It was about $143 billion, as well as a $500 million investment in America. But the conciliatory offer was to lift sanctions on Syria, which Israel didn't like.
Now,
Trump blindsided. So it's not. It is a very tight relationship, but I think it's not that Israel is totally calling the shots. Netanyahu was in America last week. This attack was likely had the final touches planned at that time.
Alexander, you mentioned something, but before I get into the embassies, I know right now that the breaking news has been that Iran has retaliated and fired ballistic missiles towards the Middle Eastern countries. So this is not just one missile, it is missile strikes. And right now, so far, we know that it is Bahrain, the Jufar Naval Base, the United Arab Emirates, the Al Dhafar Air Base, Qatar, Al Udeid Air Base, and Saudi Arabia, which is in Riyadh. You mentioned earlier that in terms of military and embassies, it has been right now, I think the United States Embassy in Qatar has already issued a message to U.S. citizens in Qatar, giving them a little bit of implementation and what to do with regards to seeking shelter and the actions to take. Can we confirm that this would definitely perhaps be a correspondence on all the other embassies? And does this communicate a quick escalation of the situation on ground right now?
Yeah, well, it was very clear there. Nothing was off the table. If there was going to be an attack, there'd be a retaliation, and it's going to be low-hanging fruit. Israel has an Iron Dome. Many of these other areas don't, or they have defense systems, but they're not as intricate and as well shielded as say Israel is. So they're going to they want to inflict as much damage on American infrastructure, embassies, as possible, and also their plan is to disrupt the allies against America, cause enough disruption that maybe they rethink their relationship with the U.S. and in effect weaken them in the Middle East. They're still approaching it from the standpoint that they can hold America off and defend themselves as well as attack and survive. The regime has problems from within, as you know, we've been covering in the news for the last 8 weeks with the interior protests. So that if the Iranian regime has ever been at a point where they can fail. It's right now. Last 50 years.
All right, just a bit of an update here before you ask that question, Inam. From as little as 5 minutes ago, there are multiple explosions heard in Doha, Qatar. Shortly after, country's defense ministry said all missiles launched from Iran were intercepted. And also, the AFP news agency is reporting a new loud explosion from a U.S. base in Bahrain. And also, there's verified footage of explosions in Jaffa and also Bahrain. And explosions have been reported in Urmia, in the western part of Iran, shortly after the Israeli army said it was launching attack on the area. And an Israeli military spokesperson issued evacuation warning for all residents near military installations in Iran. And AFP News also reports explosions in Saudi Arabia's Riyadh as well.
Now, Alexander, just last week, because it really was just last week, President Donald Trump launched his Board of Peace. And in his speech, which was one of the longest speeches, actually, he kept on emphasizing that there has finally been peace in the Middle East. And it's a week later, and this is what's happening. Was that a contradiction? Or what can we make of that statement last week and looking at where we are right now?
Well, the statement would have been more correct had he said there's peace in the Middle East with the exception of Iran. There's been ongoing negotiations. I mean, America has postured itself to say, look, we've done everything we can. We invite the Iranians for peaceful negotiations. We accommodate them. They've been in Geneva with Kushner and Steve Wilcock. They keep digging in their heels. They were not going to negotiate relationships with their proxies, which they've been using to attack Israel and other North African, Central African areas and disrupt situations around the world. They still run their shadow fleet, which America has been closing in on, and you'll hear about all sorts of tankers being seized globally. So they're cutting off their source of funds from oil sales. They've taken all the peaceful steps, although somewhat aggressive. You know, let's call it shotgun diplomacy. It's not peaceful diplomacy. And the Persian culture doesn't like that. They want to have a win. They want to feel like they're making a decision on their terms and save face. Henceforth, they were trying to go with patient diplomacy, hoping they could wear the Americans down on their demands. They
Alexander.
have a right to defend themselves. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were done there. May I continue?
Sure.
Okay, so Alexander, now let's widen the net now. Let's talk about what people aren't seeing. The fact that when Venezuela when its president was attacked, that simply meant something for other countries like China. Where do we buy our oil? Now with the attack on Iran, Iran was the major, or has become the major supply for China. Let's look at the bigger picture here. The biggest armada ever sent on a mission to Iran, of whom are suppliers to China when it comes to oil. Is this a proxy war?
Well, you touched on something. What isn't being said? All right, let's look at the U.S. economy. America is a net oil exporter. They export about 10 million barrels a day. The Strait of Hormuz, which Iran will likely block now because of the war, and they'd actually blocked some of it already with military exercises, carries about 20% of the world's supply. Of that 20%, 85% of it goes to Asia, which is China. So who has to gain on this? Oil prices are going to go up. Wall Street's going to love this. Wall Street makes its money on churn. Churn meaning stocks going up, stocks going down, people buy, people sell. Wall Street always makes money on those transactions. And America's making money if oil goes up as well. Who's going to suffer the most? China. Does America care? Well, they're in the middle of a trade war with China, so call this extra pressure on that negotiation. Whatever happens with oil prices, it's going to be short-lived until this matter settles. If it's a prolonged war, it'll continue. We'll see what happens. But in terms of oil, let's say in Africa, the biggest effect is going to be on East Africa, primarily, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa as well. But you still have Dangote supplying oil, so I imagine the call on Nigerian oil will go up, which is good for Nigeria. So you look at these underlying net effects, the economic effects. You're going to see people wanting this conflict to continue. They make money off of conflict. I don't think that's America's pure motive here, but it certainly reinforces what they're doing. It's an underlying condition that helps.
Underlying indeed, Alexander. Now, the reason why I asked that was so I could get to this issue here, not necessarily a question, but an observation that if you send the biggest armada to Iran, before you even started having talks between Washington and Tehran, then it means that you had intentions already, that there was no going back. Even if America came out yesterday to say that, yes, we are in talks, but we didn't hear the magic words, which were, no, we will not engage in nuclear war manufacturing again. It already seemed like America was poised to attack Iran. And that was the point with Iran. They were like, we will negotiate, but not under threat. And a couple of nights later, there is an attack. Was this imminent?
Well, America likes to say, walk softly and carry a big stick. Again, that was their shotgun diplomacy, where we're going to show you a show of strength by having a concentration of our military strength around you. So if you falter, if you don't agree to our terms, well, we're ready to attack you. That's a lot of pressure when you're trying to keep things diplomatic and civil. And that is something that repeatedly Iran has been indicating. If you threaten us, we're not going to react. You're pushing us, you're bullying us. We don't like that. And again, they're a proud people. You have to respect their culture. Trump is not known to be particularly diplomatic at times, and he's been called a bully because sometimes he has no filter, and he says things that are controversial to get people's attention. But it's part of his negotiation strategy. So it's you have conflicting strategies meeting, and they come to a loggerhead, and you wonder why they can't agree, because they don't feel comfortable. In the case of Iran, America's strategy, give them enough time as terms of the global optics are concerned, so that nobody, the UN and Europe, can't say, well, America, they came in there guns a-blazing with no warning, no negotiation, no efforts for diplomacy. Israel would have pushed America to go in right away. Now, that's a repetitive narrative coming out of Netanyahu. I think America wants to keep the high road here, although we are at war now. It was inevitable, I thought. However, I'm an optimist. I was hoping that because of the internal pressure in Iran and the movement towards a possible regime change, I think America was holding back, because if Iran could take themselves over by themselves, that would be the perfect solution.
Alexander, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to have this conversation here. We will actually, perhaps, I'm very sure we're going to see you on screen again today as we continue to monitor the situation in Iran, to have these conversations. There are many questions I would love to ask, but we do not have time here as we have to round up for Breakfast Extra. But while you are waiting to be called upon again by us here at News Central, I'm wondering what you think, or the direction that you think this will go. What do you think we should expect in the next 24 hours from both countries, from both Washington and Tehran?
Well, as indicated from Washington, they're going to target military targets, missile batteries, government buildings, and of course, again, any nuclear sites that Intel has indicated have been reactivated since the 12-day war in June. So that intel's been collected. Do I have access to it? No, but I think it's a common sense decision. Yeah, they're gonna be very specific on the sites that they are going to attack. In terms of the retaliation, Iran is going to try and show strength by attacking any U.S. assets outside of Israel that are in the Middle East and within missile range. Those attacks they'll try to hit the Navy as well. I think one of the first things Trump will do is they'll take out the Iranian Navy as well. I hadn't mentioned that earlier, but he did mention that in his speech. Israel, that's the most vulnerable point, because the question is their Iron Dome strong enough to repel an intense Iranian attack? 2 missiles got through in the last war out of 19. That's around 10%. But 10% can cause a lot of damage.
Exactly.
And they were targeted. They hit some strategic assets within Israel. I think that's the big concern. So, and probably a reason that the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier is positioned near Haifa. That would make sense. I think it's repelling aircraft attacks as well.
Alexander, thank you very much. My only hope is that this does not become what we had seen from the 1990s with Iraq, when there was cry of weapons of mass destructions, and all we found was a stick under a pillow. But thank you very much, Alexander. We'll be coming to you as this story continues to develop, and so people could know exactly what's happening. Thank you again.
My pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Very interesting story here that we're going to be following all day here on News Central. So if you are only just tuning in and it seems like we're rounding up, no, we'll continue to make appearances through perhaps maybe sports and other conversations through the entire day. We'll focus on what's happening in Iran. But we have to say our goodbyes. They're singing us out. They're singing, the producers are singing us out.
Not a very pleasant goodbye, but like Mazino said, we will continue to report on this crucial and very important development in the Middle East, Israel, and the United States. So till tomorrow, because we are back here tomorrow, we'll delve deeper, Mazino, into that story. But thank you for staying with us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.